Peter the Great. St. Petersburg Polytechnic University is a major Russian technical university situated in St. Petersburg. Other former names included Peter the Great Polytechnic Institute and Kalinin Polytechnic Institute. The university is considered to be one of the top research facilities in Russian Federation and CIS member states and is a leading educational facility in the field of applied physics and mathematics, industrial engineering, chemical engineering, aerospace engineering and many other academic disciplines. On a national scale, SPbPU in Russian Federation is somewhat akin to Caltech in the United States. Currently SPbPU is ranked among the top 400 in the world. It houses one of the country's most advanced research labs in hydroaerodynamics. University's alumni include famous Nobel Prize winners such as Piotr Karpatsa, prominent nuclear physicists and atomic weapon designers such as world-class aircraft designers and aerospace engineers such as. The university offers academic programs to bachelor, master's and doctorate degree levels. SPbPU consists of structural units called institutes divided into three categories: engineering institutes, physical institutes, economics and humanities institutes. History. Official names. The university has undergone several name changes throughout its existence. Detailed list of name changes is as following: 1899 to 1910 St. Petersburg Polytechnic Institute, 1910 to 1914 St. Petersburg Peter the Great Polytechnic Institute, 1914 to 1922 Petrograd Peter the Great Polytechnic Institute, 1922–1923 First Petrograd Polytechnic Institute, 1923–1924 Petrograd Polytechnic Institute, 1924–1930 Leningrad Polytechnic Institute, 1930–1934 divided into various colleges and branches under a variety of names. 1934–1940 Leningrad Industrial Institute, 1940–1990 Leningrad Polytechnic Institute, 1991–1991 Leningrad State Technical University, 1991–2002 St. Petersburg State Technical University, 2002–2015 St. Petersburg State Polytechnic University. Since 2015 Peter the Great St. Petersburg Polytechnic University, Imperial Russia. St. Petersburg Polytechnic Institute was founded in 1899 as the most advanced engineering school in Russia. The main person promoting the creation of this university was the finance minister Count Sergei Witt, who saw establishing a first-class engineering school loosely modeled by the French École Polytechnique as an important step towards the industrialization of Russia. The idea was advanced by agricultural scientist and deputy finance minister Vladimir Kovalevsky and the great chemist Dmitry Mendeleev, who are often considered to be the founders of the school. The first director of the institute became Prince Andrei Gagarin. Ivan Meshchersky was professor of St. Petersburg Polytechnic Institute. Unlike École Polytechnique, the Polytechnic Institute was always considered to be a civilian establishment. In Tsarist Russia it was subordinated to the Ministry of Finance. Its students and faculty wore the uniform of the ministry. The main campus was built by the architect Ernst Verrick on the rural lands beyond the dacha settlement Lesnoy. The location was intended to provide some separation between the campus and the capital city of St. Petersburg. The institute was open to students on October 1, 1902. Originally there were 4 departments: economics, shipbuilding, electromechanics and metallurgy. Its work was interrupted by the Russian Revolution of 1905. One student, M. Savinko, was killed during the Bloody Sunday events of January 22, 1905. The reaction of other students was so strong that classes resumed much later in September 1906, almost 2 years after. Among the Polytechnic students who participated in the revolutionary events were the future prominent Bolshevik Mikhail Frunze and the future prominent writer Yevgeny Zamyatin. Among the deputies of the First Duma were 4 Polytechnic Institute's faculties: Leningrad Eskol, Nikariv, A.S. Lomshakov and L.N. Yasnopolsky. In 1909 the shipbuilding department opened the School of Aviation. It was the first aviation and aerodynamics school in Russia. In 1911 the same department opened the School for Car Manufacturing. In 1910 the institute was named Peter the Great Polytechnic Institute after Peter I of Russia. In 1914 the number of students reached 6,000. With the onset of World War I, many students found themselves in the army, and soon the number of students decreased to 3,000. Some students, like future Soviet military commander Leonid Govorov, studied at the institute for 1 month. Part of the institute's buildings were transferred into the Maria Fyodorovna Hospital, at the time the largest military hospital in Russia. Despite the war, the institute did not stop its work. In 1916 Abramayov opened his physics seminar at the Polytechnic Institute. The seminar prepared 3 Nobel Prize winners and many other prominent Russian physicists. Eventually, this seminar became the core of the Physico Technical Institute. Revolution. On June 5, 1918, the institute was renamed to First Polytechnic Institute. In November 1918, Sovnarkom abolished all forms of scientific degrees, licenses and certifications. There remained only 2 positions for the faculty, professor and instructor. Departments were renamed faculties, and a director became rector. Main power in the institute was given to the Soviet of 11 professors and 15 students. The most active student in the Soviet was the future Nobel Prize winner Pyotr Karpatsa. In March 1919 2 additional faculties were formed: Physico-Mechanics and Chemistry. The Physico-Mechanics faculty was at the time headed by Abramayov and was devoted to the atomic and the solid-state physics, which was an absolute novelty for an engineering school of 1918. In winter of 1918-1919 there was no heating on the campus because of the lack of fuel. Many students and faculty members died of starvation and freezing. In the beginning 1919 there were only around 500 students at the university. In August 1919 the new semester started, but on August 24 all the students were mobilized to fight Udanich army. The institute itself was encircled by truncheons and barbed wire and transformed into a Red Army fortification. After December 1919 the institute was completely empty. Soviet times. The institute started working again in April 1920 when it became a part of the planning team for the GOENRO plan. Professor of the institute, A.V. Wolf, was the chairman of the group working on the electrification of the northern region of RSFSR. The institute developed projects of the Volkhov hydroelectric dam on the Volkhov River and the Dnieper hydroelectric station on the Dnieper River. In autumn 1920, because of the cold weather and the absence of heating, some lectures were often only attended by 1 or 2 students. At that difficult time, Nikolai Semenov and Pyotr P.R. Karpatzer discovered a way to measure the magnetic field of an atomic nucleus. Later the experimental setup was improved by Otto Stern and Walther Gerlach and became known as Stern-Gerlach experiment. In another laboratory, another student at the institute, Elia Kutoen Thermin, worked on his electronic musical instruments. His first demonstration of the theremin was held in Polytechnic Institute on November 1920. After the end of the Russian Civil War, many students returned to the institute. In the spring 1922 there were 2,800 students there. In the autumn 1922 the institute got a new agricultural faculty on the base of the closed Agricultural Institute in Tsarskoye Selo. In 1926 Sovnarkom re-established the title engineer and allowed children of working intelligentsia to enter the tertiary schools. The number of students of the Polytechnic Institute reached the 1914 level of 6,000. In 1928 there were 8,000 students. In 1929 two new faculties were opened: construction of aircraft and water resources. In 1930 Sovnarkom decided to create a network of highly specialized engineering schools. On June 30 Polytechnic Institute was closed and a number of independent institutes were created instead: hydrotechnical, industrial civil engineering, now military engineering technical university, shipbuilding, aviation, electrotechnical, chemical technology, metallurgy, machine building, industrial agriculture, physics and mechanics, finances and economics, and boilers and turbines. Soon another institute of military mechanics forked from the Machine Building Institute. In April 1934 most of these institutes were merged back into the Leningrad Industrial Institute. In 1935 it was the largest engineering school in the Soviet Union, with 10,000 students, 940 professors and teachers, and 2,600 support staff. In November 1940 the institute almost got its original name back. Now it was named the Kalinin Polytechnical Institute after the president of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet, Mikhail Kalinin. With the onset of the Great Patriotic War, 3,500 students went to the army, and hundreds were involved in constructing fortifications. The main building was transformed into a hospital, and another building was used as a tank school. Institute shops filled military contracts. On September 8, 1941 the siege of Leningrad began. Research on the strength of ice by employees SS Golushkevich, P. Kobeko, N. M. Raymond and A.R. Schulman proved the feasibility of transporting vital materials across ice. The researchers selected the safest route for the road of life, the transport route across the frozen Lake Ladoga, which provided the only access to the besieged city. Some faculties and students were evacuated to Tashkent in January 1943, where they were able to start classes. In November 1943 they restarted classes in Leningrad as well. In 1943 in Leningrad there were 250 students and 90 teachers at the institute. The Polytechnic Institute was the only school in the besieged city that had the authority to evaluate the candidate and Doctor of Science dissertations. Before the end of the siege they evaluated 19 dissertations. After the end of the war the institute was rebuilt. In 1988 the new Physics Technical Department of the institute was created. The department is based on the IOF Physico Technical Institute and headed by the director of the IOF Institute, George Ivanovich Alfrov. Current affairs. In September 1991 Leningrad returned its historical name St. Petersburg and the institute was renamed St. Petersburg State Polytechnic University. Most people continue to call it Polytechnic Institute. Today the Polytechnic University is a large educational complex that includes 23 institutes and faculties, 6 associated institutes outside St. Petersburg in the cities of Pskov, Cheboksary, Chernipovets, Sosnovy Bor, Smolensk and Anadyr, and many scientific research laboratories. There are over 30,000 students, including 1,100 postgraduates and 3,000 international students. Recent events. On February 20 and 21 at the Polytechnic University it was held engineering competition on Rector's Cup. Andrei Rudskoy, rector of SPbPU, corresponding member of RAS, solemnly opened competition. He wished the participants good luck and reminded how important to learn to solve non-standard problems. IT Planet is a unique educational project which is carried out government agencies, the Ministry of Communications, Ministry of Sport, Tourism and Youth Policy, Ministry of Education and Science and the executive authorities of subjects of the Russian Federation, and also the business community in sphere of information technology in universities of the country. On February 15, 2012, National Research SPbPU and Schneider Electric has opened a joint international research and educational center, Schneider Electric Polytechnic. The center consists of 2 laboratories based on SPbPU departments equipped with the latest energy-efficient equipment of Schneider Electric. On January 30, 2012, visit of the delegation of AVL List GmbH headed by Vice President Werner Moser was held. In the frame of the meeting with SPbPU Rector A.I. Rudskoy, the cooperation directions were discussed together with the problems of organizing of joint research center with the participation of Zvezda Limited. Then SPbPU researchers presented their outcomes and investigations in the field of engines, both construction and testing. Campus. General total area 102 hectares. Total number of buildings 112. Total number of students 30,197. Teaching staff 3,291. University staff 5,274. Students' dormitories 15 buildings. Dormitories area 43,076 square m. Structural units Joint Science and Technology Institute. 21 faculties and institutes. Over 150 departments, 120 R&E laboratories, 26 research and educational centers, more than 20 small innovative enterprises, Science Park and Incubating, Faculty of Foundation Programs and Institute of Professional Education, 3 branches and 6 representatives, St. Petersburg College of Information and Management, Infrastructural units, Fundamental Library, Exhibition Complex, Publishing House, Sport and Recreation Complex, Stadium, Gymnastic Halls, Tennis Courts, Swimming Pool, Student Dormitories for 5,000 residents, Student Dormitories for 1,200 international students, Northern and Southern Vacation Camps, Students' Club, Medical Complex, House of Scientists in Lesnoy, Catering Complex, Students. More than 30,000 students are enrolled in the university. Since SPbPU is a world-class academic authority in applied physics and mathematics, over 3,000 foreign students elect to obtain their international bachelor's and master's degrees by completing 4 and 6 years study programs. Many courses are extremely cost-effective, approximately 4 to 5 times cheaper than an average U.S. college, and are taught in Russian and English languages. Student profile: life safety, environmental engineering and environmental protection 2%, computer science 7%, automation and control 7%, Economics and Management 23%, Architecture and Construction 10%, Physical and Mathematical Sciences 5%, Humanities 8%, Culture and Art 1%, Information Security 2%, Energy, Power Engineering and Electrical Engineering 17%, Metallurgy, Machinery and Materials Processing 10%, Vehicles and Technical Machines 3%, Instrumentation and Optical Engineering 1%, Electronic Engineering, Radio Engineering and Communication 4%. Alumni and faculty. In total, the university prepared more than 150,000 engineers. Among its alumni and faculty are Nobel Prize winners Pyotr Karpatsa, Nikolai Semenov, and Georges Alfrod. The former president of the Russian Academy of Sciences Anatoly Alexandrov. Academicians Igor Kurchatov, Georgy Flyorov and Abram Mayer. Nuclear weapon designers Yuliy Khariton and Nikolai Dukov. Aircraft designers Yuliy Khariton and Oleg Antonov, Nikolai Polikarpov and Georgy Beriev. The designer of the T-34 tank Mikhail Koshkin. Chess grandmaster David Bronstein. Writer Daniel Granin. Axel Berg, U.S. journalist Mattei Grigory Spiridonovich Petrov, lecturer of theology in 1902–04. Former Turkmenistan President Sapar Murat Niyaziv. Ranking. Regional and national rankings. Positions of the St. Petersburg State Polytechnic University are based on the rankings made by expert RA, 4th highest among technical universities in Russia and 9th among all universities in Russia in 2012, 7th best among Russian universities in terms of research activities in 2012. The basis for this type of ranking is the result of the evaluation by groups of indicators: scientific achievements, innovative activity, innovation, infrastructure. 7th best university in Russia for the quality of education in 2012. The basis for this type of ranking is the result of the evaluation by groups of indicators: standard of teaching, global integration, resource security, demand among entrants. World ranking 441 to 460 in QS World University Rankings 2013-14, 71 for faculty student in QS 2013-14 survey indices, 488 for international students in QS 2013-14 survey indices, 34th in the Webometrics ranking of Central and Eastern European universities, 2,013,820 in the Webometrics ranking of World Universities 2013.